Captain Jisoo Park stood at the edge of the landing zone, watching as the massive colony ships unloaded their human cargo. The morning sun of this new world cast long shadows across the grassy plain they had chosen for New Seoul. The air smelled fresh and clean, like Earth before pollution had changed it forever. "This is perfect," she said, more to herself than to the man beside her. Daho Kim adjusted his scientific equipment and frowned. "Nothing is perfect, Captain. We've only been here 3 days." Jae-soo ignored his caution. She had spent 5 years of her life in cold sleek to reach this place. 5 years while Earth grew more crowded and its resources more scarce. This planet, with its breathable air, clean water, and rich soil, was humanity's new chance. She would not let fear slow them down. "The first housing units will be up by nightfall," she said. "We'll have the command center ready by tomorrow." Daeho shook his head. "My team needs more time for proper surveys. We don't know enough about the local." "Your surveys showed no large predators, no dangerous bacteria, no intelligent life." Jisoo cut him off. 5,000 colonists can't live in ships forever. Above them, something flew past, small gray birds that looked remarkably like Earth's pigeons. Jisoo had noticed them on the first day. They seemed to be everywhere, watching from trees and rocks. "Even the wildlife is friendly," she added, pointing up. Daho watched the birds circle overhead. "Similar does not mean same, Captain. Convergent evolution can create creatures that look alike, but are very different underneath." Jisoo sighed. This was why she found the scientists frustrating. Always worried, always wanting more time. Earth didn't have more time. These colonists didn't have more time. "Your concerns are noted," she said formally, "but we proceed as planned." As they walked back toward the ships, Jisoo felt a strange pride. She was 35 years old, the youngest captain ever selected to lead a colony mission. Back on Earth, her parents had been so proud when she was chosen. "Our daughter will claim a new world for humanity," her father had said. And now she was here, doing exactly that. By sunset, the colony hummed with activity. Prefabricated buildings rose from the flat ground. Supply trucks moved between the ships and the new settlement. The air filled with the sounds of construction and human voices. In her temporary office, Jisoo reviewed security protocols with her team. "Perimeter sensors here, here, and here," she said, marking spots on the digital map. "Drone patrols every 4 hours. I want to know if anything larger than a rabbit approaches the colony." Her security chief nodded. "What about the birds, Captain? They keep landing on equipment, getting in the way." "They're just curious," Jisoo said. "Ignore them unless they become a problem." After the meeting, Jisoo stepped outside to watch the colony's first true sunset. The sky turned beautiful shades of orange and purple, not so different from Earth. Stars began to appear, new patterns she would need to learn. Across the new settlement, lights came on. The first colonists were moving into their homes tonight. By this time next week, all 5,000 would be out of the ships. "We did it," she whispered. A small gray bird landed on the railing beside her. It looked at her with unusual intensity, its head tilting from side to side. "Hello there," Jisoo said, amused by its boldness. "Don't worry. We'll be good neighbors." The bird made no sound. It simply watched her with its round dark eyes. Then it spread its wings and flew away toward the forest beyond the colony. What Jisoo didn't see was that hundreds more birds just like it perched in those trees, all facing the human settlement. They sat unnaturally still and silent as darkness fell, and deep beneath the soil, through networks of roots and fungus, information about the newcomers spread across the entire planet. The humans had arrived, claiming this world as their own. The pigeons disagreed. 3 months had passed since the landing. New Seoul was now a real colony with straight streets, neat buildings, and growing food gardens. Captain Jisoo Park stood in the control center, staring at the large screen showing the colony map. Red dots marked places where equipment had failed in the past week. "That's the 4th drone lost this month," she said, pointing to the newest red dot at the edge of the map. "We can't keep losing equipment at this rate." Her tech officer nodded. "It's strange, Captain. The drones just stop sending signals when they'd fly over that northern forest area. When we send teams, we find nothing, not even wreckage." Jisoo frowned. Things kept breaking or disappearing. First, it was small tools, then weather sensors, now drones. Always near the forest edges, never inside the colony itself. "Double the security patrols near that area," she ordered. "And I want all drone flight paths recorded and backed up every hour." In his lab, Daho Kim was having problems of his own. He stared at his computer screen in confusion. "This makes no sense," he muttered. The soil data changed again. For weeks now, his science team's computers would sometimes show different results from the same tests. The changes were small but important. One day, a forest area would show perfect conditions for farming. The next day, the same spot would show toxic minerals that made farming impossible. His assistant suggested it was computer error, but Daho wasn't convinced. It felt deliberate. His office door opened, and Jisoo walked in. They hadn't spoken much since their argument last week about expanding the colony farther into the valley. "We need to talk about the equipment failures," she said, not bothering with a greeting. Daho sighed. "I told you, Captain. My team is investigating, but we need more time." "Time is what we don't have," Jisoo said. "The next colony ship arrives in 6 months with another 3,000 people. We need to be ready. And if something on this planet doesn't want us to be ready?" Daho asked quietly. Jisoo stared at him. "You think there's intelligent life interfering with our equipment? Your own surveys found nothing but plants and simple animals." "Maybe we didn't know what to look for," Daho said. Han Bin Lee wasn't a scientist or a soldier. He was a cook who loved watching birds. On Earth, he had spent his free time tracking and photographing different species. Now on this new world, he had found a new hobby, watching the gray birds that looked like earth pigeons. Today, Han Bin sat on a rock at the colony's edge, holding very still. 3 of the birds, he called them dovies, were on the ground nearby. He noticed they moved differently from earth birds. They seemed to take turns watching in different directions, almost like they were standing guard. "What are you up to?" he whispered. One bird turned its head toward him. Its eyes seemed too intelligent, too aware. It made no sound, but Han Bin felt like it was assessing him. Then he saw something odd. A bird in a nearby tree held something shiny in its beak, a small piece of metal that caught the sunlight. It looked like part of a circuit board from colony equipment. Han Bin slowly raised his camera and took a picture. The birds immediately flew away. That night, Han Bin reviewed his photos. Over the past weeks, he had taken hundreds of pictures of the birds. Looking at them together now, he noticed a pattern. The birds always appeared in groups of 3 or more. They always positioned themselves where they could watch the colony. And sometimes, like today, they carried small items, pieces of human technology. "You're not just birds, are you?" he said to the images on his screen. Outside his window, perched on a nearby roof, 3 gray birds watched his room. One tilted its head, then made a subtle movement with its wings that no human would recognize as communication. The message spread from bird to bird across the colony and into the forest beyond. Asterisk. The human male notices. Watch him closely, asterisk. In the control center, Jisoo's computer screen flickered briefly. When it returned to normal, 3 drone patrol routes had been subtly changed, creating a gap in the colony's surveillance, a gap right over Han Bin's housing unit. The Pigeons were making their move. Han Bin walked quickly through the morning crowd, holding his tablet close to his chest. He had spent all night organizing his photos and notes. Now he needed someone to listen. He found Captain Jisoo and Science Director Daho arguing in the colony's main hall. They stopped talking when they saw him. "Sir, ma'am," Han Bin said, feeling nervous. I need to show you something important. Jisoo looked annoyed. I'm in the middle of a meeting, Mr. Lee. It's about the birds, Hanbin said. The ones everyone thinks are just like pigeons. They're not regular birds. They're taking our things. Daeho's eyes widened with interest. Show us, he said. Hanbin placed his tablet on the table and opened his photo files. I've been watching them for weeks. Look here, this one is carrying a piece of wire. This one has what looks like part of a circuit board. And here, they're building something in the forest. The last photo showed a strange structure hidden among trees. It looked like a small tower made of sticks, metal pieces, and colorful wires from human equipment. What is that? Jisoo asked, leaning closer. I don't know, Hanbin admitted. But they built it. I watched them for 3 days. They worked together, bringing pieces, arranging them in specific patterns. It's not a nest. It's something else. Daeho looked at Jisoo. This might explain our missing equipment and data problems. Jisoo frowned. You're suggesting these birds are intelligent enough to sabotage a human colony. I'm suggesting we need to investigate. Daeho replied. 3 days later, a small team stood at the edge of the forest. Jisoo had brought 2 security officers. Daeho had brought Soo Min-yoon, the colony's xenobiologist, a scientist who studied alien life. Hanbin was there too, as their guide. The structure is about half a kilometer in, Hanbin said. I marked the path. As they walked into the forest, Soo-min spoke quietly. If these creatures are truly intelligent, this could be the most important discovery in human history. Jisoo wasn't convinced. They're birds, small ones at that. Size doesn't determine intelligence, Soo-min replied. And appearances can be deceiving. On Earth, crows use tools and solve complex problems. Octopuses can open jars and navigate mazes. Intelligence comes in many forms. They walked in silence after that. The forest was quiet, too quiet, Jisoo thought. No bird calls, no rustling in the trees. It felt like the forest was holding its breath. Hanbin stopped suddenly. It was here, he said, pointing to a small clearing. The structure was right here. But the clearing was empty. No tower, no collection of sticks and metal. Nothing to show it had ever existed. Are you sure this is the right place? Jisoo asked. Positive, Hanbin said. A soft sound interrupted him. They all turned to see hundreds of the gray birds filling the branches around them. The birds made no calls, just watched with their dark eyes. Don't move, Soo-min whispered. They've been waiting for us. One bird, larger than the others, flew down and landed on a fallen log in front of them. It had unusual markings, a pattern of darker feathers across its wings. The bird spread its wings in a slow, deliberate movement, then closed them. Opened them again, closed them. It repeated this pattern, adding head tilts and small hops. It's communicating, Soo-min said, her voice filled with wonder. She took out a small camera and began recording. The marked bird continued its dance. Behind it, dozens of other birds began similar movements, but slightly different, like a complex visual chorus. This is no random behavior, Daeho said. This is language. Jisoo felt a chill run down her spine. These weren't just birds. These creatures were trying to talk to them. The marked bird stopped its dance and stared directly at Jisoo. Then it raised one wing and pointed, not toward the humans, but deeper into the forest. It was an invitation and a challenge. For 6 days, Soo Min-yoon hardly slept. The xenobiologist sat in her lab, watching recordings of the birds over and over. Her eyes were red from staring at screens, but she couldn't stop. She knew there was a pattern to their movements. There has to be a system, she muttered to herself. Every language has rules. After their meeting in the forest, Jisoo had given Soo-min a small team to study the birds, which they now called Dovians. They had set up cameras near the colony edge, recording hours of the birds' movements. Daho entered the lab with a cup of hot tea. "You should rest," he said, placing the cup next to her. Su-min shook her head. "I'm close. Look at this." She pointed to her screen where she had broken down the bird's movements into simple parts: wing positions, head tilts, feather displays. "These patterns repeat. I think each combination means something specific." "Like letters in an alphabet?" Daho asked. "More like picture symbols," Su-min replied. "See how this wing spread followed by this head tilt appears every time they gather near water. I think it means water or drink." Daho looked impressed. "Have you told the captain?" "Not yet," Su-min said. "I need more proof. Jisoo still thinks they're just unusual animals, not an intelligent species." Jisoo stood at the colony's edge, watching construction teams prepare land for more buildings. The next colony ship would arrive in 5 months, and they needed to be ready. Hanbin approached her cautiously. Since their forest trip, she had been avoiding him. "Captain," he said, "the birds are building more structures, dozens of them now, all around the colony." Jisoo frowned. "Show me." Hanbin led her to his small observation post at the edge of the colony. Through his binoculars, Jisoo could see into the forest. There, among the trees, strange towers rose, each one made of sticks, stones, and pieces of metal. "What are they doing?" she wondered aloud. "I think they're watching us," Hanbin said. "Learning about us." Jisoo's communicator buzzed. It was Su-min, her voice excited. "Captain, you need to come to the lab right away." "I've done it. I can talk to them." Su-min's lab was crowded. Jisoo, Daho, and Hanbin watched as the scientist stood in front of a large screen. On the screen, a complex pattern of lines and shapes changed constantly. "This is their language," Su-min explained. "Not sounds, but movements and patterns. I made a basic translation algorithm. It's not perfect, but it works." She pointed to a small cage in the corner where one of the Dovians sat, watching them calmly. "Watch," Su-min said. She faced the bird and made a series of hand movements. The bird responded with wing spreads and feather displays. The computer screen showed translations. *human. Hello. We come in peace. **. Dovian. We know your purpose. You build. You change. You claim. **. Jisoo stared in shock. "It understands us. Not our words," Su-min said. "But my movements, yes. And it's answering." Su-min made more gestures. The bird's response appeared on screen. **human. We want to learn about you. Dovian. We were here first, long before. We chose simple life. I don't understand," Daho said. "What does it mean by chose simple life?" Su-min's face was serious. "From what I've gathered, the Dovians once had a complex civilization. But thousands of years ago, they chose to abandon technology. They became caretakers of their world instead of its masters." She continued translating with the bird. **human. Why did you abandon technology?" Dovian. Technology brought death to land. We chose life instead. We became one with world. One with the world. Jisoo repeated. "What does that mean?" "I think it's why they look so simple," Su-min said. "They evolved differently from us. Instead of building tools, they built connections. With each other, with their environment." Jisoo looked at the small bird with new respect. "Ask it what they want from us." Su-min made the gestures. The bird's answer was simple. Dovian. Want you to stop. Too much building. Too fast change. Breaking balance. Jisoo's face hardened. "We can't stop. We need this world." The bird tilted its head, watching her. Then it raised its wings in a pattern unlike any they had seen before. The computer couldn't translate it. But somehow, they all understood the meaning. Asterisk, then there will be conflict asterisk. Jisoo sat alone in her office, staring at the message on her screen. Earth Command had responded to her report about the Dovians. Their answer was clear. Asterisk, continue colony expansion as planned. Native wildlife concerns are secondary to human settlement needs. Asterisk. Wildlife. They still thought of the Dovians as just animals, despite all the evidence Sumin had sent showing their intelligence and communication skills. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. It was Ta-Won Choi, the colony's infrastructure director. "The forest clearing team is ready, Captain," he said. "We can start cutting trees tomorrow for the new residential area." Jisoo hesitated. That forest area was filled with Dovian structures. Clearing it would destroy there, whatever those towers were. "Have you consulted with Science Director Kim?" she asked. Taiwan frowned. "With respect, Captain, Daho would just tell us to wait. We've been waiting for weeks now. The next colony ship arrives in 4 months. Where will those people live if we don't build more housing?" Jisoo knew he was right. Earth was sending more ships, whether they were ready or not. Earth was dying, and humanity needed this planet. "Proceed as planned," she said finally, "but double the security team. I want armed guards with the clearing crew." Taiwan nodded and left. Jisoo felt a weight in her chest. She was choosing her people over the Dovians. It was her job, but it didn't feel right. The next morning, Daho burst into Jisoo's office without knocking. "You approve forest clearing?" he asked, his voice angry. "Without consulting my team." "I don't need your permission," Jisoo said coldly. Earth Command was clear. "We continue as planned." "Earth Command is 16 light-years away," Daho shouted. "They don't understand what we're dealing with here." "And you do." Jisoo stood up, facing him. "These birds, they're not just birds." Daho cut her off. "Sumin has proven they have language, culture, intelligence. They were here first. Jisoo, this is their world. And now it's ours too," Jisoo said. "We have nowhere else to go." Their argument was interrupted by Jisoo's communicator beeping urgently. It was a security alert from the forest edge. By the time Jisoo and Daho reached the clearing site, the situation was chaotic. Hundreds of Dovians filled the air above the human workers. The birds were dropping small objects onto the clearing machines. "What are they dropping?" Jisoo asked the security officer. "Seeds or nuts of some kind," he replied. "They're getting into the engine vents, clogging the machinery." As they watched, one large tree cutter ground to a halt, smoke rising from its engine. The workers backed away, looking up nervously at the swirling mass of birds. "They're protecting their territory," Daho said, "just like any intelligent species would." One of the security officers raised his weapon toward the birds. Jisoo quickly pushed it down. "No shooting," she ordered. "That's exactly what we can't do." But it was too late for peaceful solutions. Another officer, startled by a Dovian diving close to his head, fired his weapon. The energy pulse hit the bird, which fell to the ground. Instantly, the sky went dark as hundreds more Dovians appeared, as if summoned. The swarm grew larger, their movements changing from random to organized. They formed patterns in the air, complex, shifting shapes that Sumin would have recognized as language. They were communicating, planning. "Everyone back to the colony," Jisoo ordered. "Now." The workers ran, abandoning their equipment. The Dovians did not pursue them but remained circling above the forest clearing site. As the last humans left, the birds descended onto the machines. Working together with remarkable speed, they began dismantling the equipment, carrying away pieces into the forest. Back at the colony edge, Jisoo watched through binoculars. She had never seen such coordinated behavior in animals before. But then, the Dovians weren't just animals, were they? "What happens now?" Daho asked quietly. "Now," Jisoo said, "we're at war." In the forest, the fallen Dovian lay still. Around its body, a strange fungus began to grow, spreading outward in a perfect circle. Within hours, it would reach the roots of the nearest trees. And then, the planet would know what humans had done. The real conflict was just beginning. 3 days after the shooting incident, strange things began happening in the colony. People reported feeling itchy. Then many developed red rashes on their skin. By the 4th day, 50 colonists were in the medical center with breathing problems. It's some kind of allergic reaction, the colony doctor told Jisoo. But I can't find what's causing it. Jisoo had ordered the colony sealed. No one went outside without protective suits. She had also deployed armed security drones to patrol the perimeter. The drones were programmed to keep the Dovians away, but not to harm them. Jisoo didn't want more deaths. In her lab, Soo-min worked frantically to understand what was happening. She examined samples from sick colonists and air filters from the colony's ventilation system. "Look at this," she said to Daho, pointing to her microscope. "Spores, thousands of them, too small to see with naked eyes. They're in the air we breathe. The Dovians are attacking us with biological weapons." Daho asked, shocked. "Not exactly," Soo-min replied. "I think this is how the planet defends itself. The spores come from a fungus that grows all around us, the same fungus that spread from where the Dovian was killed." Outside, Jisoo watched as another security drone crashed to the ground. That was the 5th one today. The Dovians had learned to disable them by dropping tiny pebbles into precise spots where the drone's cooling vents were located. The birds were learning, adapting to human technology with frightening speed. "Captain, we need to talk," Daho said, approaching with Soo-min. "The situation is worse than we thought." They walked together to the science lab where Soo-min had set up her equipment. On the screens were images of the strange fungus that now formed a ring around the entire colony. "The fungus is spreading everywhere," Soo-min explained. "It releases the spores that make people sick, but that's not all it does. Look at these readings." She pointed to charts showing unusual energy patterns in the soil. "It's creating some kind of network under the ground, connecting all plant life." "What does that mean?" Jisoo asked. "I think the Dovians and this fungus are connected somehow," Soo-min said. "The birds act as eyes and ears, but the fungus might be like a shared brain." Daho added, "We're not fighting just the birds, Jisoo. We might be fighting the entire ecosystem." Jisoo's communicator beeped with an emergency message. "The East Gate is under attack," she said, reading the message. "Dovians have gathered there in huge numbers." They rushed to the East Gate. Through the clear walls, they could see hundreds of Dovians lined up in precise rows. At the front was a larger bird with distinctive markings, the same one that had first communicated with them in the forest. "They want to talk," Soo-min said. "That's their leader." "It could be a trap," Jisoo warned. "We have to try," Daho insisted. "More people fall sick every hour. We need to find a solution." Reluctantly, Jisoo agreed to open a small section of the gate. Soo-min, wearing her protective suit, stepped outside to face the marked Dovian. Using the hand gestures she had developed, she began to communicate. The bird's response was translated on Soo-min's portable screen. Asterisk, "You killed one of us. Now the network knows you are dangerous." Asterisk. Soo-min replied. Asterisk, "It was a mistake. We want peace." Asterisk. The Dovian's next message was clear. Asterisk, "Leave our territory. Stay in your metal houses only. No more cutting trees. No more digging earth." Asterisk. Soo-min looked back at Jisoo, who shook her head. They couldn't agree to those terms. The colony needed to expand to survive. Soo-min turned back to the bird. Asterisk, "We cannot leave. We cannot stay only in our buildings. We need space for more humans coming." Asterisk. The marked Dovian spread its wings in a pattern that Soo-min recognized as a warning. Then it flew away. All the other birds followed. That night, The number of sick colonists doubled. The medical center was full. The fungus ring around the colony grew thicker, glowing faintly in the darkness. And somewhere in the forest, Han Bin Li was making a dangerous decision. If the humans and Dovians couldn't find peace, maybe he could. Alone, he slipped past the colony's security and headed toward the heart of the forest, where the Dovian structures were most numerous. He didn't know he was walking into the center of something much bigger than birds protecting territory. He was about to discover the true nature of this world. Han Bin walked deeper into the forest than he had ever gone before. The trees grew thicker here, their branches weaving together to block out most of the sunlight. Strange glowing fungus covered many of the trunks, casting a soft blue light on the forest floor. He wasn't sure why he had come. He only knew that someone needed to try something different. Fighting wasn't working. Talking had failed. Maybe just being present, alone and unarmed, might show the Dovians that not all humans meant harm. "I know you're watching me," Han Bin said aloud to the silent forest. "I came alone. I just want to understand." For a long time, nothing happened. Han Bin sat down on a fallen log and waited. The forest seemed to breathe around him. The glowing fungus pulsed with light, almost like a heartbeat. Then the marked Dovian appeared, landing on a branch near Han Bin. It was soon joined by others, dozens of them, forming a circle in the trees around him. The marked one flew down and landed directly in front of Han Bin. It tilted its head, studying him with those intelligent eyes. Han Bin had learned some of Su Min's hand gestures for simple communication. He tried them now. Asterisk, hello. I come in peace. Asterisk. The Dovian didn't respond with the expected wing patterns. Instead, it hopped closer and pecked at the ground. A small patch of the glowing fungus grew there. The bird pecked at it again, then looked up at Han Bin. Hesitantly, Han Bin reached out and touched the fungus. It felt warm and slightly damp. Nothing happened. The Dovian made a frustrated movement, then pecked Han Bin's hand lightly. Not enough to hurt, just enough to get his attention. It pecked the fungus again, then looked at Han Bin's hand. Understanding dawned. Han Bin placed his palm flat against the glowing patch. The world exploded in his mind. Images, feelings, knowledge, they all flooded into him at once. Han Bin gasped and nearly pulled away, but the marked Dovian landed on his arm, keeping him connected. Han Bin saw the history of this world through alien eyes. He felt the consciousness of the Dovians, not as separate beings, but as parts of a greater whole. The fungus network was everywhere, running through the soil, connecting all living things on the planet. The Dovians were not just birds. They were the eyes, ears, and voice of the planet itself. Long ago, the Dovians had been different. They had built cities, created machines, changed their world. But they had nearly destroyed themselves and their home in the process. The fungus network, what they called the Great Mind, had shown them another way. They had evolved to become part of the network, joining their consciousness with the planet. Every tree, every plant, every Dovian was connected. They shared thoughts, memories, experiences through the network. When one Dovian died, its knowledge joined the Great Mind. Nothing was truly lost. And now humans had come, cutting trees, digging soil, breaking the connections of the Great Mind. Every tree cut was like losing a piece of their shared memory. Every patch of land cleared was like a wound in their collective body. Han Bin understood now. The Dovians weren't just defending territory. They were fighting for their very existence, their way of being. With a gasp, Han Bin pulled his hand away from the fungus. The flood of information stopped, leaving him shaking. The marked Dovian watched him, waiting. "Your consciousness," Han Bin whispered. "It's in the birds, but also in the fungus, in the trees, everywhere." The Dovian bobbed its head in what seemed like agreement. "You don't hate us," Han Bin realized. "You just can't let us break your connections. The network is. It's you. All of you together." The marked Dovian spread its wings in a pattern that clearly meant asterisk yes. Asterisk. Han Bin stood up, his mind racing. I have to tell the others. There's a way we can both live here, but not like this. Not by fighting the network. As Han Bin turned to leave, the Dovian flew to his shoulder and settled there. It was coming with him. Together, they headed back toward the colony, carrying a truth that would change everything. This world already had a consciousness, and humans would need to join it, not conquer it. This is madness, Todd One shouted. We can't just stop building. We have 3,000 more colonists arriving in less than 4 months. The colony's main meeting hall was filled with angry voices. On one side stood Han Bin with the marked Dovian still perched on his shoulder. Beside them were Su Min and Daho. On the other side stood Todd One and many of the colony's workers and security team. In the middle, looking tired and torn, stood Jisoo. You expect us to believe that these birds share a mind with the trees. Todd One continued, that the whole planet is somehow conscious. I don't just believe it, Han Bin said firmly. I experienced it. Through the fungus network, I felt their consciousness, their history. Su Min stepped forward. The readings from my lab support his story. The fungus shows electrical patterns similar to brain activity. And look at this. She held up a small plant with glowing blue roots. The fungus connects to plant roots, creating a vast communication system throughout the forest. Even if it's true, Ta One argued, we can't just stop our expansion. Earth Command was clear. We have a mission to build a home for humanity here. Jisoo raised her hand for silence. The room quieted. Earth is 16 light years away, she said. They don't know what we're facing. And the situation has changed. Over 300 colonists are now sick. The medical center is overwhelmed. She turned to Han Bin. You say the Dovians don't want to hurt us, that they're just protecting their network. Han Bin nodded. They're afraid. When we cut trees and clear land, we're damaging their shared mind. It's like cutting off pieces of their brain. Jisoo looked at the marked Dovian. Can they help our sick people? Han Bin hesitated, then made several hand gestures to the bird. The Dovian responded with wing movements that Su Min translated. It says they can stop the spores that make us sick, but only if we stop breaking the network, Su Min said. They want us to find a way to live here without destroying more of the forest. Impossible. Ta One shouted. We need space, resources. Maybe not, Daho said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. What if we changed our approach? Instead of cutting down the forest to build outward, we could build upward. Taller buildings, using less land. And we could integrate the fungus network into our construction, becoming part of it rather than destroying it. Live in harmony with the network instead of fighting it, Su Min added. The Dovians abandoned their old technology because it hurt the planet. But maybe we can create new technology that works with the planet instead of against it. Jisoo looked thoughtful. How would we even begin to do that? Before anyone could answer, Jisoo's communicator beeped. It was an emergency message from Earth Command. Asterisk colony expansion must continue as planned. If native wildlife interferes, you are authorized to use all necessary force to remove the threat. Additional security forces will arrive with next colony ship. Failure to prepare adequate infrastructure will result in removal of command. Asterisk. The room fell silent as everyone read the message on the large screen. Jisoo's face hardened. They're sending soldiers, she said, to kill the Dovians if necessary. Han Bin looked at the marked Dovian, who seemed to understand the danger. The bird spread its wings in a complex pattern that Su Min translated. If more humans come to destroy, the Great Mind will defend itself. All humans will be rejected from the world. What does that mean? Jisoo asked. I think, Han Bin said slowly, it means the planet will make it impossible for any human to live here. The spores making people sick now. That's just the beginning. Jisoo closed her eyes. The weight of command had never felt heavier. She had to choose between following Earth's orders or protecting her people from a war they couldn't win. Between human expansion and alien coexistence. Between claiming a world or sharing it. She opened her eyes and faced the colony leaders. "I've made my decision," she said. Everyone waited for her next words. The future of humanity on this world hung in the balance. 1 year later, Jisoo stood on the observation platform of the colony's tallest tower. From here, she could see how much New Seoul had changed. Instead of spreading outward across the land, the colony now reached upward. Tall buildings with gardens on every level rose into the sky. Between them, trees grew undisturbed. The glowing blue fungus that once surrounded the colony now grew within it, running along walls and pathways, connecting everything. "Captain Park," a voice called from behind her. "The new ships are entering orbit." Jisoo turned to see Hanbin approaching. The marked Dovian, now named Sky by the colonists, rode on his shoulder as always. Over the past year, Hanbin had become the main human link to the Dovians, learning their language and ways better than anyone. "Thank you, Hanbin," Jisoo said. "Are we ready for them?" "Yes. Sumin's team has prepared the integration kits for all new arrivals." Jisoo nodded with satisfaction. Those kits had been Sumin's breakthrough, a small amount of specially treated fungus that new colonists would touch. It would give them a gentle connection to the great mind, helping them understand this world and preventing the allergic reactions that had plagued the first settlers. "And Earth Command?" Jisoo asked. Hanbin smiled, still angry. "But what can they do? The reports from other colony attempts prove we're right. Every other planet where they tried the old way of building has failed. Only New Seoul is thriving." Jisoo thought back to her difficult decision 1 year ago. She had defied Earth Command, refusing to continue the expansion that would have destroyed the Dovian network. Instead, she had followed Daho's plan, redesigning the colony to work with the planet instead of against it. It hadn't been easy. Some colonists, including Tadwan, had refused to accept the new way. They had taken a ship back to Earth, carrying angry reports about Jisoo's surrender to birds. But those who stayed learned something wonderful. As they began to respect the network, the planet responded. The spores making people sick disappeared. The Dovians shared their knowledge of local plants that could provide food and medicine. The fungus network helped clean the colony's water and air. Most amazing of all, humans began to feel small touches of the great mind. Nothing like Hanbin's deep connection, but enough to sense the living world around them. Children born on New Seoul seemed especially sensitive to it, often seen playing with Dovians as if they could understand each other perfectly. Daho approached, interrupting Jisoo's thoughts. "The agricultural pods are showing record growth," he reported. "The network is helping the plants grow faster and stronger." "And the new building designs?" Jisoo asked. "Ready for testing," Daho said. "The living walls incorporate the fungus directly. If they work, we can house the new colonists while actually strengthening the network rather than harming it." Jisoo smiled. This was what she had hoped for, not just survival, but true integration with this world. "The ships will land tomorrow," she said. "The new colonists will find a very different place than they expected." Later that evening, Jisoo walked through the colony's central garden. Glowing fungus lit the paths. Dovians perched on branches, watching the humans with friendly curiosity. Children played beneath trees that grew through building floors designed to welcome them. Sky fluttered down from somewhere and landed on Jisoo's shoulder, something the marked Dovian had never done before. Jisoo felt a gentle brush against her mind, a feeling of approval and acceptance. Jisoo reached up slowly and touched the bird's soft feathers. "I came here to claim this world for humanity," she said quietly. "I was wrong. The world doesn't belong to us or to you. We belong to it." Sky made a gentle cooing sound that Jisoo somehow understood perfectly. Yes. Together. As the new colony ships descended through the atmosphere, bringing 3,000 more humans to this world, Jisoo knew they would find something unprecedented in human history. Not a conquered planet, but a shared one. She had come to claim a world. The pigeons had taught her to join it instead.